Hey guys, so plan today was to make the roof of this hull and also the bulkheads, and then find the balance point for the motor. However, my bandsaw blade broke, and so that is not going to happen. But all I've done since the last episode was I put the sides on and I put these gussets in, these kind of four reinforcing gussets. So today's plan is to work on the engine. This is a Still FS36. The reason I chose it is because it's a very slim profile, but actually there's a lot of space in that hull. I didn't think there'd be quite so much space. So I'm thinking it might not be the final engine that goes in there, but for now it is going to be the engine. I'd like a 50 or a 60cc engine, because then that thing will literally rip. Let's tear this one apart. The owner said he could only get it running on starter fluid. Now, generally, if someone's started or been running an engine on starter fluid, I would suggest probably not buying it, because it means it's been run without lubrication. It might be okay. If you're just going to give it a little bit of a spray just to start it, just one little spray, then it's fine. But what I generally find is when people get these engines started on starter fluid, they'll keep them running on starter fluid, and it's just not going to do the engine any good. That's what he's done here. He's also torn the carb apart and didn't have any success with putting it back together. So we will see if we can fix it. We can get it up and running, and yeah, let's go get set up. Knowing that he's ran this on ether, let's check the exhaust side piston skirt first. Right. The carb gasket wasn't even in place. Can you see that? It's broken there and there. We're going to have to remake that. And I can already see, just looking this side, he said he's taken the carb apart and cleaned it, but he's actually taken apart the governing system for this carb, and he hasn't sealed this big brass screw. I'm not sure how clear it's come across. I've done a video on this before on disabling the governor, but it certainly needs to have sealant, because otherwise air will go in and it'll give you a lean symptom. So far, two issues that could have caused his lean symptom are an improperly fitted gasket and not reassembling that high-speed governor on the carb. Both of those are loose. Moment of truth. It's dry. This has got a reed in it, which is cool. Give a bit in there, give a bit in there. That's also not a good sign. I can just see a whole bunch of oil and air passing the ring. Might be over before it starts. Oh, that's not too bad. At least we've given it some lubricant. So the fact that it ran would mean it's got spark and it's got enough compression. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's great compression, but it means it's got enough. So let's start with the carby, see if there's anything that jumps out other than what would be a leak because he didn't seal that governor. Let's just see if anything else crops up that he might have missed. They're all quite loose as well. There we go, well, that came out nice and easy, didn't it? But that's very clean, certainly clean. He's certainly cleaned it out. There's a bit of wear on the metering lever there, but nothing too much of an issue. Often the culprit is these diaphragms that they just get really hard, but he's put a new one in. So, in fact, it's not the right diaphragm for this kit. This diaphragm should have two little holes up there, which correspond to the two alignment pins here. But at least it's supple. At least it's soft. That's not right either. I see what he's done. Okay. Right, this is one that's easily overlooked if you're not aware of it. This diaphragm is not designed for this carburetor, not because it hasn't got those alignment holes, it doesn't really matter, can you see this little nipple here, that little shiny pin in the middle? These diaphragms come with different heights of those little nipples, and what they do is as there's a vacuum pulled in the carby or the throat of the carby, it will draw this diaphragm down, it will press on the lever. Now, this style of carburetor needs a diaphragm that has a longer nipple, and the metering lever should be set flush with the floor of the carby, which this is, that's fine. But that nipple is not going to be able to contact it. So I think what he's done is he's got a new carb kit and he's put those parts on, but the carb kit's not correct. Let me go get you one that's the correct height. Let me show you. This is the correct one for this carby. You ready? Can you see the height difference? That one's got a long nipple on it. That one's got nothing, it's flat. It's designed for a different carb, and this just so happens to have those two alignment pins. That is the right one for this carburetor. So as it draws a vacuum, it can press against that. So there we go. That's also going to make it run exceptionally lean. So far we've had an air leak, we've had the main governing system for this carburetor being removed but not resealed. That'll give you an air leak. And also the diaphragm has the wrong nipple on it, which is going to cause it to run exceptionally lean. It won't run at all, to be honest. So that's that so far. And the needle. But you can see there's a ridge on there as well. It's not ideal. What that can cause is poor metering of fuel. And the reason is because as that needle slightly unseats, it doesn't taper and let a predictable amount of fuel through. It steps. So it will come up and it will automatically let a lot of fuel through. So not ideal. It might be a bit trickier to tune. I might even just change that out if I've got a spare. But in terms of cleanliness, that looks pretty... Oh, let's check the screws, where the screws are. Half. Oh, it feels loose. 1, half, 2, half. You can see how far out they are. 3, half, 4, half, 4.5 on the low. That's loose as well. Loose as a goose. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3, half, 4, half, 4.25. So we've got 4 and 4.25. So that's not right either. So I think what he was doing was he was trying to open these to give him more fuel because the metering diaphragm wasn't contacting the needle. It had an air leak, it had another air leak, and the amount of fuel coming through, not that it makes any difference at this point, would be poorly metered. Yeah, so he's not done anything with that. That's just gone straight back in. And that is not sealing properly. So that needs to be sorted out. The low speed screw is always the longer of the two, just so you know. Let's have a look at the fuel pump side. That's very dirty. Well, that had to happen at the most inopportune time. It was a really useful thing for you guys to know, so we're going to go back over it. So I was checking, there's a little valve in here. I'm not going to poke it, but just to show you, this stops air coming back through into the metering chamber. And these need to seal when you pull a vacuum on them, and they need to let air pass when the pressure goes through. Well, I took this tube off of the machine there, and you just put it on the end, blow and suck. Nick's good at that. And what it should do is it should sound like it's clicking. And that's the valve sticking and holding in place and not letting air back through. Well, when I was doing it, it just allowed air to go back and forth, back and forth. So what I did, I took some carby spray, cleaned it out, put some fuel in afterwards, carby spray fuel, suck, blow, and eventually it started to seal really nicely. So we've actually got that now. So a little tip, if you have any of these carbs with a little check valve in them, just check that they're sealing. If they're not, you can sometimes bring them back. Sometimes there's a bit of stale fuel in there that's kind of restricting it from sealing against its seat, but no, that's all good. I'll just see if I've got another needle, because that has got the ridge in it. Very few carbs have needles that are like as small as this one, but I believe this carby does. Yep, there we go. Perfect. That's all clean, which it is. That's all okay. Let's do a pressure and vacuum test. That's good. It's fine. Yeah, that's really not that great. That's 125, 110, 25. You're on the limits of it not working. Check the purge is working. If the purge doesn't fill up, it means you've got an air leak. Feels good to me. Choke, give it a bit of throttle. It's going to be hard to do, but I'll try with my foot. No, that doesn't seem right to me. I'm going to disconnect that. You got choke on? Yep. No, he's not wanting to run, is she? Let me go get a spark plug tool and spark checker. He said he got it running though, which is interesting. Oh, no, I did do the screws. The screws are good. I need to go see if it's getting fuel. Back in a sec. And we'll just check we've got spark as well. I haven't got the spark tester with me, but... Oh yeah, gosh, that's saturated. Clean that out. Just make sure we've got spark. We did put a lot of fuel in there. Have we got anything we can ground it on? Oh yeah, we've got spark. Let's try this. Let's close all the screws. Should work now. Choke off. Full throttle. Strange. Let's see if it's wet again. Oh, did you spin on me? Soaked again. Could just be that there's a lot of fuel in the bottom end. Give a bit in there, give a bit in there. Okay, so we know it runs. 1.25. Yeah, that. See how rich it is? we should go get it linked up to the strimmer itself. We'll load it up, we'll get it nice and hot, tune it nicely, then we'll just check compression, see if that's changed at all. But the fact that it's idling, I think it's okay. There is certainly the fact that it's idling really nicely. The fact that it's idling really nicely is a great sign, and I don't think there's any issues there at all. It's not loading up. Let's give it a couple of zips. Did you hear how it nearly died there on the second or third pull of the cable? What that is, this machine has the reed valve opens up and it goes straight in and it slams against the side of the crank lobe, and then it's got to go up 90 degrees, hit the piston, and then it's got to go 90 degrees again. The flow characteristics of this particular engine are very poor, and if you give it a tiny bit too much fuel, you will find that it will want to kind of bog and splutter, especially when you're tuning the high side and it wants to come back down. You can find, it's just, the flow characteristics of this particular machine are not the best. They're not that great. Let's go and put the strimmer attachment back on, and we'll load it up and we'll see how we go. So I've just got back and I accidentally wiped my hand underneath here and noticed it's oily, and then I took the cover off. I put it back on now. I took this off and noticed this was covered in oil. Now the intake port is well, the intake port, the intake port is actually a reed valve. It's got a reed valve covering it, and it's inside the crankcase. Now what this is telling me is the reed is not sealing correctly. It is running fine, but what I will do, I want, while I've got it off, I'm going to just take the crankcase cover off and just check, because I guarantee that reed, there's a gap in there, and as the piston is either going up and it's blow by, fuel's coming back down, or as it's coming down, it's not sealing, that reed's not sealing, and it's only going to get worse. So let's just pop that off while we've got it here. Yeah, and sure enough, it's not sealing. Now, let me just tell you what I meant about how there's poor flow characteristics in this machine. So, fuel and air literally come straight in here and they smash against this counterweight, and then they're expected to turn 90 degrees and get kind of up here, past the transfers, and then 90 degrees again, back out this way. So, yeah, the characteristics are fairly junky, but it's what it is. It's what it is. Yeah, it's up slightly. It could be as simple as the plastic's even slightly warped. Try and bend, not the reed, but the cover itself. The reed is actually flat, but if I can put a slight, just a slight bend in this. In fact, I could do a tiny bit more, but let me just show you what we've got so far. You know, that's bang on flat. That really is bang on flat. You can't complain at that. There's one, which looks like the right sort of size. All right, let's see how we go. Need my jet driver. It's all good. So, choke on full throttle, give you a couple pumps. Choke off. That recoil grabbed. Oh look. One thing after another, isn't it? Why is it grabbed? It's kind of wound itself around the back of the flywheel there. I really have no idea. I'm going to have a bit of a closer look to see how that happened. There we go. You know what it is, don't you? I know exactly what it is. This rope that this person has put on, whoever at some point, is way too thick, and it's running incorrectly on the runner. It's not fully going inside the runner. This should be a much, much thinner rope. This is a lawnmower thickness, not one of these. And that's exactly what happened. It went in, it slipped off of the plastic recoil, span around, got caught, and then it ripped itself to bits. Like that. Yeah, that really needs to be changed because that's going to cause an injury. Well, it measured at 3.9, that's a 4mm rope, and it should be a 3mm. Way too big, way too big. So I'm going to go get that changed out now. Yep, that goes in. Just a little bit of lubricant. It needs to be clean, but this will get us close. Even sounds like a little nitro engine. Right, let's try a second time. So we probably will need choke, but we'll try without for now. Choke. I need to get it under load, but I can't get it under load wearing flip-flops and trousers and no face shield. So I'm going to go get some trousers on and we'll get right into it. There we go. Let's just do some cutting with it and tweak the tune as it gets warm. So I can feel that, well, I can feel it's down on power, I can hear it's down on power, and the RPMs, this should be running at about 8-ish, 8.7. I mean, they say unloaded 9.3, so when you put a bit of weight on there, a bit of trimmer line in the strimmer head, then you can expect to reduce it by a bit, 900 RPM maybe. But this is running at, and it's tuned correctly, it's how it should be, this is running at about 7.1. So we're about 1,500, maybe a bit more RPM below what it should be. There's just not much power there at all. Doesn't take much to load the power head up. I mean, it starts fine. But it would certainly benefit from a new ring. I guess it's just had a hard life, and it running it without oil, with that ether, that spray stuff, it's not surprising. You're rubbing metal on metal. So let's see if we're getting a better seal. Yeah. So all we've got now, this gets oiled. Where are you? This gets oiled. I've oiled that before I put it on. So you've got the ring of where this is butting up, but there's no spray. Can you see in the middle? Bone dry. Let me show you. There. So the air filter sits on the outside, like that, but the inside here, where the spit back would occur, is bone dry. That's the importance of sealing those reeds. There we go, got there eventually. We've got 135, 110, 20, 135 It'll drop down a bit by the time I bring it to you, because I just released the thing. So what's it now? It's 100 and... It's gone down to 125, but it was 135 before I pulled the tube out. 135. Maybe if I ran sort of 32 to 1, 25 to 1, it will bring that compression up just a touch, but whether it will actually be noticeable, I doubt it. So yeah, that is... look, we've got to... Well, I've got to keep this in context. I got a machine that didn't run, and we've got it running beautifully. It really, it runs absolutely fine. If it cuts blades of grass, it's doing its job. Is it going to give me the most amount of power on that boat? No. Is it ideal? No. And I guess that's kind of where I want to know from you guys. Let me know in the comment section what we should do from here. Do we continue with that engine as it is, and we know it's a good runner, we know everything's okay with it, it's just not got the power that, say, a newer one has? I might be able to get a ring, which is incredibly unlikely. I think it's almost a complete waste of time, but maybe I should see if I can get a new ring for it. Shall we see if we can get a newer or a different model to fit in there? It has to be a strimmer because I need it to be driven by the flex shaft. The convenient thing about this is I can take all the plastics away and it's still going to leave me the engine, the recoil and everything I need, which is an advantage in this case. Or do I just go crazy and stupid and buy myself a $350 two-stroke, you know, screamer that's actually designed for it, an RC two-stroke, I guess. But then the issue is it's no longer a whippersnipper boat, is it? And that loses the charm of this whole project. Anyone can go and buy an engine and stick it in a boat, but repurposing something that you've found, you've repaired, that's got its own charm to it. So please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd like to hear where you think we should go with this. Do we stick it in? Shall I just strip it, keep it for parts? Shall I just sell it on Facebook Marketplace at a low price and just say, hey, look, it's a worn machine, it's an old girl, but it starts, runs and cuts just as it should. You know, that's another alternative. I'm not sure what to do. Let me know in the comment section below. And also, no, we'll save that for the next video. Yeah, there's not much more to add. Not much more to add, but thank you for watching. If you've gotten this far, let us know your thoughts in the comment section and we'll go from there. All right, thanks guys, bye-bye.